Hello, everyone. Again, thank you for joining today. We all appreciate you taking time out of your day to join the webinar. As Kristen discussed, we will be talking about Epicor CPQ, how we can help your company sell more faster. And with that being said, I'll jump right into introductions for myself and for my colleague. My name is Aaron Stevens, as Kristen said. I'm a territory manager for Epicor CPQ. I've been in your shoes. I came from a customer, so I've got to see kind of both sides and how it can help customers out and what we can do to benefit you. And with that being said, I'll pass it over to my counterpart, Luke, who will introduce himself.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining. My name's Luke Jarzewski. I'm a solution engineer, and I've been with Epicor CPQ for a while now on the implementation team, and got pulled over here to the sales side about 2 years ago or so. So happy to be with you guys, and thanks for joining.
Perfect. Thanks, Luke. As always, want to get this one more kind of housekeeping item to get out of the way here. Safe harbor statement. I'm sure a lot of you have seen this before. We just ask that you keep this confidential, and yeah, we appreciate that. Our agenda here, what we're going to cover today, we are, a big focus today is to really go over most of the components of Epicor CPQ. So it's pretty wide what we're going to discuss. Individually in those components, we're not going to go real deep into those. We want to save that for future webinars. Today, we just want to highlight the majority of the components and what makes up Epicor CPQ. However, you'll find a questionnaire at the end of the webinar today. What we want to do is kind of present to you what you feel we would, what you would want to hear from us for us to discuss for the next topics. And you'll have the opportunity to fill that out at the end of today's webinar. All right, starting off our story. So always kind of a good slide for everyone to see. You can tell 2009, our original branding was KB Max. That's the year we were founded. And the technology really stemmed from an observation from our founders that custom product companies were really drowning in the complexity of quoting and or designing their products. There were disconnected spreadsheets, broken processes, and at the end of the day, just unhappy customers with that. In 2009, we set out with a vision to solve this problem, and here we are in 2023. We've never looked back. Excuse me. As the years have passed, you can tell, going from left to right, we've expanded our customer base globally. In 2017, a big partnership with KB Max and Salesforce. And then in 2019 and in 2022, we were recognized by Gartner and in Nucleus. Gartner, we were recognized in the Magic Quadrant, and by Nucleus as a leader in the value matrix. And each year we continue to be recognized by them. Not to forget a really important date, Epicor acquired KB Max in 2021. At this point, it was really the expertise in manufacturing and distribution really made it a great partnership. Our technologies really complemented each other, and this was really going to allow us to expand our technology suite and our global footprint. All right, a little bit about the CPQ market. As you saw from the last slide, we were founded in 2009, so that's 14 years helping manufacturers. Our product can be found in 36 countries where we're licensed in, and we have 500,000 unique visitors per month. Quite a large number. You can see here on the bottom, we're trusted by some of the world's biggest brands, and those are just a handful of all our customers that are using Epicor CPQ. And for those of you that may not know this, it couldn't be an Epicor CPQ conversation without including Snap. And just as a kind of another housekeeping item, if you hear us use the word Snap, that is our advanced rules engine and configurator. It is a no-code solution, so oftentimes you're going to hear us refer to our advanced rules engine as Snap. And this really is the heart of our platform, and it drives all the functionality. And Snap is really one of our main differentiators, which we'll go through here in the next slide. But this slide is a really good high-level view of all the components to which Snap, breaking these down a little bit, coming up in the following slides, all of these around the snap circle there are some of the components of it. All right, jumping into Snap itself. Now, as I break this down, one of the things that I want to talk about really for each slide is either a customer or a prospect and how we were able to help them based on this component that I'm talking about. And the first one here, I've got a current prospect that lacks the ability to make changes to their own configurator. They have a current CPQ vendor. However, each change must be completed by that vendor. This costs the prospect a lot of time and a lot of money in order to make those changes. And the reason they have to use that vendor is they don't have anyone on staff with the capability to code to make the changes to that configurator or to add more products to it. Our no-code solution provides them an easy way to make changes or add new products without needing someone on staff who can code. This gets your product to market faster, it gets your product changes to market faster, and it's at a much lower cost since you can manage, our customers can manage the changes themselves. We have some customers that have no maintenance contract. They do all of this on their own. We have other customers that want to completely rely on us to make those changes or updates, and we'll really do either of those dependent on the customer. Some of the bullet points here, it'll handle the most complex products. It's also got drag and drop visual blocks. So if you see this, the video here on the computer screen, that's really how the code is being built. You're using building blocks to build the logic, and that logic is then in turn in the background building the code behind it. It accommodates non-programmers, as we already discussed. You have the ability to tap into external data sources, and you can manage items such as customer data, bills of material, and routings all from one place. All right, visualization, another big component of Epicor CPQ. For this one, I want to reference an existing customer. They're a pool manufacturer. Excuse me. They understand the importance of AR, augmented reality, and especially in the home renovation and DIY space. It is very hard for customers to visualize any product, let alone a pool in their backyard. By having 3D and AR, this customer of ours is now able to show their consumers what an above or below ground pool would look like in their own space, which ultimately leads to a much, much higher conversion rate. Some of the components of our visualization are industry-leading photorealistic imagery, lightning fast renderings, a built-in material library, real-time pricing, which we'll touch on a bit more here in a little bit, mobile AR, and drag and drop configuration within the configurator itself. All right, another component of Epicor CPQ. For this one, I've got a current lighting manufacturer prospect whose products offer custom sizing. Now this customer, or this potential customer of ours, they don't need visuals to change because the product itself doesn't change that much. However, the product, in order for it to be spec'd into new construction or remodeling, they need spec sheets with the right dimensions on it. And so they can use a static image, but the spec sheets have to change. So right now, in order for this customer to get their product out to market and to get it installed, there's a lot of manual work for them to update the documents just to make sure they can pass inspection for installation. You can imagine a residence could have 20 to 30 different lighting components. A commercial building could have hundreds, if not thousands. And now you have all of these different products that all need a spec sheet that's updated in order to pass inspection for installation. That's a lot of time spent in order to do this. That's where we come in. They're looking at us to automate the process for them. So within document automation, we have comprehensive quotes, BOMs, spec sheets, just about any document you're looking to have created, we can do that. We can pass data automatically to your CRM, your ERP or PLM, control branding, logos, product images, etc. And we allow for configuration and quote accuracy. All right, website embed. This is one of my favorites here. So I've seen this with past customers. I've seen this with future customers, future prospects. First of all, if you're generating leads online, that's a win for anyone. But I've also seen where a lead generation is fill out a form with your contact information, select a box and tell us you're interested. At the end of the day, that's great. Look, you've got, hopefully you've got someone's information. They were able to reach out to the channel they wanted to use, and they've showed interest in your product. Now you've got somebody who can reach back out to that customer. Now imagine this. Your customer can completely design your custom product. They can use augmented reality to see it in the space you want it to go. You can get quoted automatically and even transact online. Now, how much time would that save your business? Instead of waiting for a phone call, having to design it, having to quote it, and put all that information together to get back to a customer, you can have that done, and it's all completed by your customer through your website. So website embed for our customers can enable your B2B to C selling. As I said, you can embed it into your website. Great lead generator. You can send orders into your CRM, ERP, and PLM. All right, next up, CAD automation. For any of you that have CAD that's used in your facility, you may have a design that could take 20 minutes. You could have a design that may take days. So CAD automation, can really, reduce the amount of time that's needed, to produce those the configuration for the final product. As an example, I've got an existing customer. They're a leading sign manufacturer in the US. One of their most complex products took right around a day, could take a little less than a day, a little longer than a day, call it 8 hours on average to do a design, which is now done in a matter of 10 minutes or less to have an entire configuration completed in CAD and ready to be manufactured. What could that do to help your business from a time reduction standpoint? Dynamic pricing. What is a what is a custom configured product? Without accurate pricing, to reflect those changes. One thing you'll see, kind of on the lines with the website embed earlier, where someone says, "Hey, send us your contact information, and we'll reach out to you for a lead." Now what if you can do the configuration, but what if your customers can do the configuration, but they can't really get the accurate pricing? A lot of times this is because someone internally needs to take a look at the drawings or whatever it was that was configured. Someone else may have to cost it out. So call for pricing can often mean call today for pricing, give us a couple days and we'll get back to you. That's something that can now be handled. You can have a custom product configured and the pricing can be completed right as you're being built. All right, one thing I want to talk about too is, how does this fit into our existing architecture? We do have a full REST API, and we can integrate with virtually any business system. Multiple ERPs, we work with multiple CAD systems, and so there's a good opportunity or good chance that we're going to be able to exist within your current architecture. All right, and one of the last slides here before I get ready to hand it over to Luke for a demo of our product. Epicor CPQ really is a true omni-channel sales approach. Your configurator, if you're thinking, how is a configurator going to help our internal sales? Well, you can empower those sales reps to configure your products direct with your customers, and you can also get rid of having errors. The rules and logic that you can put into, and we can configure into your CPQ product can make it so you don't have these errors. You're not concerned about something getting to manufacturing and finding out that it isn't a product that we can manufacture, because we've put the rules and logic in place to make sure that the product can go to the market. That same configurator is what can also be embedded in your website, which we talked about a little bit ago. Why not have your customers, configure for themselves? How much better of an experience would that be for your customers if you can embed that and let them do it directly? And then not only just for customers with a website embed, but your dealer partners. How much time does your company spend with dealers or with distributors to help them get the right product, get it quoted, and get it back to the customer? Now, if they've got access to the configurator, all that rules and logic that helps your internal salespeople, that's also available publicly on a website, can also help your dealers, and ultimately have an omni-channel sales approach to grow your sales. All right. With that being said, I will pass this over to Luke, and Luke will take over with a demo. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Aaron. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here, and you guys should be seeing a screen that says Acme on. Is that right, Aaron?
Yep,
Yep.
perfect.
Perfect. All right, so first off, thank you everybody again for being on the call today. I know there are people from all over the world in the webinar today, so whether it's morning, afternoon, or nighttime for you, we do thank you for being here. Now, the purpose of today's webinar, or today's demo here, is to give you a sense of the breadth of our software and all the different features that make up our software platform. And having said that, I'm gonna go ahead and bring up this diagram one more time here. So my goal here is to touch base on all of the different aspects of this diagram, including the heart and soul of our platform, which is Epicor CPQ Snap, our rules engine. So the first demo that I'm going to show to you today will be an overall, starting from a quote and finishing in through our workflow. So creating a quote, adding products to it, and then pushing that quote through the Epicor CPQ workflow. So I'll go ahead and start in Epicor CPQ in our quotes tab. Now on the quotes tab, some of the features that we can do here, we can see all the different quotes that we've previously created, or we can actually search for a particular quote if we've generated it in the past. In this case, I want to show you guys what it looks like building up a quote from start to finish. So I'm going to go ahead and just create a new quote by clicking the add button down here at the bottom. What that'll do is it'll lead us to a brand new quote where up at the top in our quote header, we can add some customer information if we wanted to, capture information right here in our quote header. I'm gonna go ahead and save this quote. And what we wanna do is we wanna go ahead and add some products to our quote. So I'm gonna go ahead and click the add products button down here at the bottom. And what that'll do is take us to our product screen. So what you're seeing here is a bunch of the different categories of products that we have inside of Epicor CPQ. For each product, we could assign a category if we wanted to. So for instance, if I wanted to go ahead and select on exterior doors, that will show us any product that is in that particular category. And from there, we can go ahead and open up that product and start configuring the product. So today, what we're gonna do in this first demo, I'm gonna go ahead and build up a front door here. And that's gonna go ahead and launch the configurator experience. And so we are in the product configurator as of now. And in this case, this first demo example, we're gonna show a lot of different configurators with different shapes and styles and things like that. The configurator is extremely customizable in functionality. And in this case, it is more of a guided selling approach that we're gonna walk down. So the first example here, if we wanted to select a standard door, we could enter this Amazon-like experience where we select a few different features and options that we want to go ahead and filter these doors down. So see, we have 15 products that match the search criteria. If I wanted to add a price range, I could do that as well. And we're gonna see these products are gonna filter down to only products that match the filter that I've set for these actual doors. Now, this may work if we have a bunch of standard doors, but let's say that we want to go ahead and start from scratch and actually get guided through the process of creating a door on the fly. So I'm gonna go ahead and scroll up, and I can see that I have a design a custom front door button here, and I'm gonna go ahead and click that. So now we're gonna be presented with a bunch of different options that are, again, gonna guide us down the process of creating a product, in this case, a door. So I'm gonna go ahead and start answering these questions. First off is the material. You'll have a brief description of the material down here. I'm gonna go ahead and select wood, and that's gonna go ahead and present the user with another page here. So I could have the option to go ahead and do a single door, a double door, or the door that I'm gonna select here, which is gonna be a single door. Next, we see a few more fields here, and on the right-hand side of the screen, we're now presented with a 3D scene. So some of the technologies that we're using in Epicor CPQ are WebGL and HTML5. HTML5 is allowing a very responsive feel as I go through the configurator experience. So as I make selections such as an exterior pre-hung door, maybe I want to go ahead and select a 3/4 light window in there. We're seeing that that's all updating in real time, including the 3D scene as well as the price. And so that's all through, the 3D scene is through WebGL. So that's a 3D graphics library that is baked right into Epicor CPQ. Now, you may notice up here at the top, again, as I go through this and make selections, we are seeing that the price is actually updating in real time through Epicor CPQ's pricing rules, which are also done in our Snap language. So I'm gonna go ahead and select the details. We see a sticker price more so right here, but if I go ahead and select the details button at the top right, that's gonna go ahead and show us more of a sales bill of material as I'm going through this. So what we're seeing here is more of a bill of materials of the different options that I've selected that we have added to as pricing options that affect the price. Now this is customizable. So if we had a custom column that we wanted to show, or maybe if we wanted to show the material cost and costing information for internal users, that would be doable here as well as generating the lead time, showing the customer the discount, that sort of thing. That experience can change depending upon who is accessing the Epicor CPQ configurator. Now I'm going to close this and continue on with the configuration experience here. Now, on this page, what I can do is I can go ahead and select some different height options here. So you'll notice I do have a select menu where I can see a bunch of different heights and widths that I have for this particular door. And I can go ahead and make those selections, and that'll update the scene. Now, as a custom door manufacturer, this experience may work for a customer or maybe a dealer, but let's say for our internal folks, we want to give them more capability and more flexibility into building a custom door. And so if you notice, I'm showing only the standard sizes here. What I can do is I can actually allow for custom sizing, which will allow me to go ahead and type in a custom number here to this number box versus just selecting a standard drop-down item. So I'm gonna go ahead and type in something like 81.1. And what that's gonna do is round up to the nearest 1/8 of an inch for us. So that's another Epicor CPQ rule that's done in Snap that's actually correcting that and rounding it up to the nearest 1/8 of an inch. Now, we all know that sometimes engineers can get out of hand, and we do have different manufacturing machines that can only have some certain a certain boundary of values to follow there. And so what I can do is if I were to type in a number that, let's say, isn't manufacturable for one of our CNC machines, we can actually write what we call a validation rule in Epicor CPQ to be aware of those constraints. And so what we're seeing here is that we're getting a real-time notification about what is invalid or what's making this invalid in the configurator. And what I can actually do is go ahead and click the fix this button to actually change whatever it is in the configurator that I need to in order to make this a valid configured product. In this case, I'm gonna go ahead and reduce the height here. And as a salesperson, you can see that I don't need to know what I need to do in order to make this valid. Epicor CPQ can offer me different paths in order to make it valid for me. So very powerful for onboarding and things like that there. Also for just making sure that we don't have any manufacturing errors down the line. Now I'm gonna go ahead and click select here. That's gonna lead me to the next screen where I can go ahead and do things like change the color of the door to be maybe an Epicor color, or add different accessories to this, maybe change the lever type here on our door. And you'll notice the 3D scene is also interactable. So as we can see, we could control the bore location simply by clicking and dragging on the handle here. And notice we do have some constraints in Epicor CPQ to allow us to only drag and drop this door handle in acceptable areas. And also, again, behind the scenes, this is driving the bore location for this door in particular. I could go ahead and add a knocker if I wanted to as well. And then finally here, we have a design summary for this configuration that we've just built. As you can see, we have kind of a summary of all the different selections that we made up here at the top. And then more importantly, we want to provide the user the ability to see this in their home. And one of the ways that we can do that is clicking on either uploading an image to this to see what it would look like on our home, or if you don't have an image in this case, we can just provide one of our pre-selected images. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. I'm gonna click and stretch this image to fit the appropriate size of my door here. And I can get a real-time view of what that would actually look like if it were on my house, right? We do also support augmented reality, which we'll actually see in the next demo. And if you'll notice too, this is a lot of companies that we work with, a lot of our customers, they're using this idea of uploading an image. Maybe it could be a site plan, and we could scale that image and then actually click and drag and drop components on a site plan. So there's a lot of possibilities there that you have the ability with Epicor CPQ. Now, what I'm gonna do, once I'm done configuring this door, I'm gonna go ahead and save this to our quote. And that'll bring us back to the quote where we can see that product has now been added as a configurable product to this quote, as a line item on this quote, where we can see, we can assign a discount if we wanted to. Maybe we will want to show margin here, that sort of thing. And then we can see that we do have a price here. So if I wanted to, I can show maybe a 10% discount. We can go ahead and calculate a discount on our quote as well. Now, one thing that's important to mention too up here, up at the top, is that the quote will actually flow through a bunch of different states in Epicor CPQ. And so one of those states may be a workflow approval. One of those states may be an output build, depending upon how you do business, right? The workflow that we have within Epicor CPQ is very flexible. So let's go ahead and visit the output documents tab here that we have on our quote header. So one thing that we can do here is, as mentioned, is that we can produce CAD automation. And so in this demo, I'm gonna go ahead and have SolidWorks output be a build that happens behind the scenes here. Also, if I wanted to, what I can do is I'm gonna go ahead and click on the engineering drawing to add an engineering drawing to the page here. Next, what I can do is I can actually go ahead and submit this into our workflow. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna kick off the Epicor CPQ workflow here. And now our quote is gonna actually hop through a couple of those different states in the workflow. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull up SolidWorks on my device. And what we'll actually see is we're gonna see an output build generate in real time with our Epicor CPQ output builder here. Let's see. Let me go ahead and copy this to a new quote real quick. Let's see this one more time. Go ahead and click on SolidWorks. Go ahead and include that output build in the drawing. What I did here was just created a clone of this quote. And let's go ahead and submit this one more time. All right, this may have been something done on my end. Let's go ahead and take a look at a previously built quote here that we have. Let's go ahead and take a look at this quote here. And let's go ahead and take a look at the quote document that was generated here. So let's go ahead and open up that quote document, download it to my device here. And let's take a look at that. So here we can see that sure enough, we do have a document that was generated by Epicor CPQ. Now, one thing that's important to note here with Epicor CPQ is that we are a document generation tool. And so what that means is that we can take what you're seeing here, which is many different documents, and append them together to create more so a PDF bundle altogether. So the first page here, it is more so a very dynamic document in a sense that we can add items dynamically to the table using the Epicor CPQ document builder dynamically. The next page, this can be that the CAD output that we saw there that we generated and append that to the document as well using SolidWorks or any other CAD system. And then finally, the last document that we've appended here is just a terms and conditions. So this is a case where you would have a static document or maybe many static documents that you want to just append to the document to create overall a dynamic PDF bundle. Now, one thing to mention here too is that behind the scenes for this, we don't have to have any sort of custom code or anything like that within the system. Our admin is very much so a point and click experience if you would like to do things like copy the quote over the quote subtotal over here, or any of the other properties and fields that you have inside the Epicor CPQ product configurator. So very easy to set up and maintain as far as that goes. All right, and then once we have that document generated, what's going to happen in this demo workflow is that it's going to go ahead and enter the documents review state. And so what this is it's an approval workflow to where as a user that has the privileges to approve or reject this particular quote, we have the ability to do that here. So what we're seeing is if I were to approve this, click approve, what's going to happen is that quote is going to go to the close state in this workflow. Now, you may have other steps and things like that in the workflow that you set up. Maybe you have more outputs that build later on in the system, that sort of thing. But you do have the ability to set up approvals and different states in Epicor CPQ. The next example, now that we've seen kind of a start to finish example of building out a quote, the next examples will be more so just touching base on a bunch of different product configurators. And in particular, what we're going to do here is we're going to build a configurator more so from the ground up. So this is a case where you may have, let's say, build a product that's more modular, where a bunch of components can chain together and you can connect those components together to build up an assembly from the ground up. So what I'm going to do here is let's go ahead and start with a deck square to be our starting piece. And I can click, and you'll notice I can click and drag that into place on the 3D scene. And you'll notice also when I click and drag this, we can see that we do have a bunch of different connectors here. So let's go ahead and add one more component. And let's have that component be something like a spinner panel. And I'll go ahead and click the add button to go ahead and add that here. So as you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, this is more so like a toolbox that we can go ahead and select components and then click and drag them onto the appropriate spots. So now you notice we have those, what we call connectors in Epicor CPQ. We'll notice this panel that I'm adding is not even in the right orientation, right? But once we get it close to a connector and drag it into the place, we can actually create more of a subassembly now. So now we see we have three connectors still exposed that we can connect items to, but overall we've now just created an assembly between those two components within our Epicor CPQ scene. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and add some more components here. Let's go ahead and add a wheel wall, and I can also click this guy and drag it into place. Let's go ahead and pop it in there on that connector. Now, this is a good scenario too for companies that maybe have components that maybe it's a valve and a fitting or something like that that you're connecting together. You may have connection rules that validate this, connecting the right size diameter to the right inside diameter of another component, that sort of thing. So that's all definitely possible with Epicor CPQ. Let's go ahead and finish out this build. Let's go ahead and add let's say a staircase, pop that into place. And then lastly, to finish this off, let's go ahead and add a very large yellow slide here. So now that we've done that, we've kind of built this out. We can visually see as we're going through this that our staircase is clearly much higher than our slide is, right? So far we've added a bunch of static components to this and built out an assembly, and that's great. But there may be cases where we need this to be dynamic. And so if I were to go ahead and just click on that staircase, we will see some options be presented to the user here. So we can actually take these fields and things like that we have inside of the configurator and embed them directly in the 3D scene. So this is extremely powerful and makes for a really nice use case for your users. I'm gonna go ahead and select a length of 2. And then let's go ahead and also make this from the ground. So we add that extra level of extension there. And now we see that this is pretty much built out. We have our nice staircase with the slide and things like that. As we're going through this experience, that was also building up a bill of materials with the components that we have on the right-hand side of the screen. And I actually, prepping for this demo, I was playing around with this, and we actually got a little bit carried away with the playground. And so that led me to go ahead and film this here. And so a couple important things to note here is that we can also optimize for mobile, kind of like you saw here. And also, if you have a 3D scene with Epicor CPQ, you automatically get augmented reality out of the box with our software. So that isn't an additional feature that you have to add or anything like that. It is literally just out of the box with Epicor CPQ. So as you can see, we're bringing that playground to life here in this video. Perfect. All right. The next example that I want to show you guys real quick is touching base on the omni-channel experience and what we mean by an omni-channel experience when we talk about Epicor CPQ's omni-channel experience. So we're going to use one of our very big customers, ToughShed here, and we're going to start this experience from within their website. And so as you can see, from their website, we are presented with a list of products that we can go ahead and configure. And what I want to do, this is their embed, but what I want to do is I want to go ahead and build out one of these Premier ranches. And so what I'm going to do is as I click the build a quote button, the Epicor CPQ product configurator is now going to load up in this environment. Now, they're doing this through our embed API. And so what ToughShed's website is doing is it's telling the configurator which product the user selected, and then it's going to go ahead and pre-select that option in the configurator as well. So the important thing to note here is that this is one configurator for all of the ToughShed products. So every product that we would select in that previous screen would lead us to the Epicor CPQ product configurator. It may just give us a different starting off point, but the method of communication between ToughShed's embed and Epicor CPQ is the embed API. And as mentioned, we do also offer a REST API to make backend calls to Epicor CPQ as well, and that sort of thing. Now, the next thing that I want to show you guys is ToughShed's dealer website. And so you can access the configurator from multiple different channels. And again, this is a good public example for you guys to see. But I'm going to start out in ToughShed's dealer website, which is Home Depot. ToughShed does service almost 2,000 of the Home Depots in the United States. And you'll notice immediately the configurator is changing because we are on the Home Depot website. So you'll notice first the Home Depot orange coming in here to the theme, but also the product itself is actually changing given that we are on the Home Depot website now. So instead of Premier Ranch, things like that, we are seeing that we have a TR800, TR700, and TR600 there. All right, perfect. And the last thing that I want to show to you guys here is I want to go ahead and show you some of the admin capabilities within Epicor CPQ. So what we're going to do is we are actually going to see the snap language that drives Epicor CPQ and just how easy it is. But what I want to do is build up a configurator from the ground up with you. So we can do that by selecting the admin panel here in the product in Epicor CPQ's admin. And I can go ahead and start a new configurator by clicking the add button down here at the bottom. All right, now the first thing that we want to do, I'm going to go ahead and hop into some Snap. And so the idea that we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and use a table to filter a few cars here. So I have kind of a screen capture of the data that we're going to use, and we're going to actually create a filter based upon these three properties right here. And we're going to write what we call an option filter in order to drive a few fields and filter a few fields with Epicor CPQ. So I'll actually leave this right here on the right-hand side of the screen. And the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and build out what we call an option filter. Now, everything in Epicor CPQ's admin when building a product configurator is located right here in what we call the design tree. And so whether that be rules for our configurator, UI options and fields, or the output builds, I can access all of that right here. So let's go ahead and build out a simple option filter, which is essentially a query that we can use for our fields. And I'm gonna go ahead and set its source to be a query. And once we do that, I can go ahead and just add a query rule here, which will add an Epicor CPQ snap rule to this. And so what this is saying is that we can actually set this up to point at a table and query data in a table that we already have set up in Epicor CPQ that we're seeing down here at the bottom. So once I select this option right here, this query rule, I'll be presented with a few different blocks in Epicor CPQ. And so it's very easy for me to go ahead and just click and drag the appropriate block, put it into place. And again, in this case, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and look at that cars table. Notice I do have access to all the tables that I have in this demo environment at my disposal here. Again, in this case, I'm just going to do a type ahead, select the cars table. And actually, we're going to add a query parameter here where we actually filter on only options that are available in this table that we set up here. So I can do that by simply clicking the plus button here. And you'll notice this will kind of read like a sentence. So it's going to say select, basically grab all the records where, and I can click and drag one of these blocks in here. And you'll notice I can see all the different properties of my table right here in this drop-down menu. So I can say select all the properties where that is available field is equal to, and I'll just use the categories here, is equal to a certain value. And I'm going to go ahead and pass into that true. We could do things like add more contingencies on this or add more query parameters here if we wanted to, very simply. But all this to say that that's it in building the option filter for our table here. And you'll notice behind the scenes, Epicor CPQ Snap is handling all the complex code. So there isn't anywhere in Epicor CPQ where you would actually have to write any sort of custom code or anything like that. Epicor CPQ is what we would call a domain-specific language. So it's actually a full-blown language that controls every aspect of Epicor CPQ, including CAD automation, the website embedding, real-time pricing, the omni-channel experience, the 3D scenes, all those sort of things are driven by this language. And so where normally you would have to write custom code, we write Epicor CPQ Snap to make it a lot easier for our customers to maintain, a lot easier for us to manage on our side, and a lot easier overall to implement and to own the product. So now that we've created this query, we're looking for all the available products. What I can do now is I'm going to go ahead and enter the UI editor. I'll get this out of the way. And what I'll start to do is I'll start to go ahead and add some products here. So I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and add a field. Let's name this field the year. And again, we're just going to filter by the year, make, and model here. So I'm going to have the year be a data type of number. And I'm just going to give it a control of a select. And down here for the select options, I'm going to go ahead and use this option filter that I've created up here. So I'm going to go ahead and set the source type to be an option filter. And I'm going to reference that option filter that we created here. And then next, I'm just going to select a value, a column in that table that I want to connect to this field that I have. So of course, I'm going to go ahead and select the year. And then next, what I need to do is I just need to duplicate this field. I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate it one time. I'll change the data type to be a text type since we're gonna be using a text type. I'll keep its control as select type, and then now all I need to do, this is gonna be the make field, and then I can just give this field a new name. So I'm just gonna say this is gonna be the make, and then duplicate that one more time and say this is going to be the model field, and I'm going to reference the model column in our table. And as I'm doing this, we see a real-time UI build right before our eyes over here on the right-hand side of the screen as more of a preview. And if I wanted to order these in a different order, it's very simple for me to click and drag and drop those into place in our UI. And notice those are going to change place in real time over there. So let's go ahead and run this and see if I set this up correctly. I'm going to go ahead and click the run button. And what's going to happen is that configurator is actually going to run here. Let's see, it seems like it's taking a second here to save. All right, there we go. Let's go ahead and run this one more time here. I think this may be a bandwidth issue on my case. This happened twice now. Let's see. Let me try closing my other tabs here. All right, well, Aaron, you guys can still hear me, correct?
Yeah, we can still hear you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I think I may be having some bandwidth issues or something like that here, but basically that was kind of what I wanted to show you guys today. We got to see a little bit of Epicor CPQ Snap behind the scenes and also a bunch of demo examples for us here. So at this point, let's go ahead and go to the questions portion of the webinar.
Okay, that sounds good, like a good idea. Okay, so we're gonna head into Q&A. If you do have a question, you can enter them into the questions panel on the sidebar of your screen. You'll see it located on your screen, an image of that here if you cannot find it. So let's dive right in. Our first question here is this. How do I update documents such as a PO that is other than a quote or sales order?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So there are a lot. So I know we showed one quote in Epicor CPQ. Those documents are customizable, and so whether it's if it's at the quote level, you can do that at the there's a document output for the quote level in Epicor CPQ. If you wanted to update that document, we do have what we call the capture tool that'll be located in your tools section of the admin screen of Epicor CPQ, and that will be where you can create multiple documents, and that's more so your tool to go ahead and create documents dynamically. So that'd be located in your tools section of Epicor CPQ.
Great, thank you. Okay, we have another question here, and I'm not sure if you touched on this just recently at the end of your demo. But this particular person has salespeople currently reconfiguring their products many times, and they want to get in and out of the configurator without having to reconfigure everything. They're wondering if they can easily do that with CPQ, because the current configurator they're using, they have to write a lot of code in order to be able to do that.
Excellent question. Yeah, in Epicor CPQ, there is the ability to clone, and you can either clone out an entire quote, or you can clone out a previously configured product. And so those are both buttons from within the configurator.
Okay. All right, we'll head to the next question. What are the IT requirements?
Great question as well. So really with Epicor CPQ, our goal is to not really require a lot of IT support. We really want the actual product owners, or the people that know which has been historically tribal knowledge with the company and things like that, people that know those rules to be able to have the power to implement rules in Epicor CPQ. So kind of like we saw there at the end, where we're generating some snap rules and things like that. It may be writing snap rules, or it may just be a matter of updating a table and driving a configurator by table. So really, from an IT perspective, we try to limit that as much as possible. And as mentioned, of course, every aspect of Epicor CPQ is driven in some way, shape, or form through our snap language.
Great. We'll keep moving here. What is included with each CPQ license?
I can take this one, Luke. Good question. So first of all the features that you guys saw, it's all included in our license fee. So CAD automation, AR, 3D, document generation, dynamic pricing. We just have one set fee for all of those. We do have different license types though. So depending on what you're looking to do, is it an internal user license? So is it a username and password for someone internally? Is it an external license? Is it, is that a dealer or distributor? That's a username or password. And then we also have, kind of the website embed. So if it's a public facing configurator, we really kind of track usage based on how many transactions or interactions are included in that. So we really have 3 different license types, but everything that you guys saw today is included within each of those licenses.
Great. Okay, we got another one here. Can you calculate pricing dynamically versus pulling from a table?
Absolutely. So just like we were creating rules inside of the product configurator for pulling information from that table, there is actually another rules section where we can actually just write our own rules. And there's many different types of rules. that execute at different times. You may have a keyboard click rule. You may have a value rule whenever the value changes in the configurator, or a page change rule. One of those rule types is our pricing rules.
Great. So I think we have time for 2 more questions here. So I will ask these 2. Can you make any customizations to the platform?
Yeah, so by default, our Snap language is a customization. So so the system and in the product configurator, it is flexible enough to handle just about anything you could do with a traditional programming language. And so by default, again, that Snap language is code behind the scenes. And so any customizations would be done through the use of our Snap language.
Great. Okay, and this is the last question that we're going to pull from the chat today. If you do have any additional questions that haven't been answered for you today, don't worry, we do have the ability to save them. So feel free to enter them at any time from here on out, but this will be the last one that we take. This particular person needs to be able to get drawings out for their customers and to manufacture. How well does CPQ do that?
Yeah, so you can get as custom as you'd like within Epicor CPQ. We absolutely have many customers that use Epicor CPQ more as a engineering focused tool, to where we produce manufacturing drawings. We can create those on the fly. We can create many documents as well. And so, and then getting a document to the customer, you can download that PDF and email it to the customer from through email. But yeah, you can get as custom as you'd like with the CAD automation. So and that's actually where we started as a CPQ company, is in the CAD space. That's the heart and soul of where the Epicor CPQ was actually founded back in 2009.
Excellent. Okay, so that's going to wrap it up for us today. We are getting to time here, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So thank you all so much for joining us for this session. If you have any additional questions, you can reach out to your account manager, or you can reach us at epicorcpq@epicor.com. That email address is listed here on the screen for you to jot down. This session has been recorded, and you'll receive a link to view it on demand and share it with your colleagues. After the webinar, you will find a short survey. Please take a moment to fill this out and help us make these events a better experience for you by providing us with your feedback. If we do these more in the future, we want to be able to hear what you want to hear and see. I want to thank Aaron and Luke for a wonderful presentation and demonstration today, and all of the great information both of you provided. As for all of us here at Epicor, we look forward to meeting with you again soon. Thanks, everyone. Have a good afternoon.